Hey, yo, what's up to everybody out there? Welcome to another edition of the Roundtable Talk. I am your host, C Money, and in today's episode, we are doing a history in South Florida. Not a good history in South Florida. This is a tragic episode. We are here at the Hollywood Plaza here in Hollywood, Florida, excuse me, just west, I'm sorry, of I-95, and I just ended up having a little lunch here at this McDonald's. Great McDonald's, by the way. I ordered my food online through the app, and when I got there, it was like, "Oh, your food's been here for a while. We're gonna switch out your fries." And I was like, "Oh, that's very well. That's very good." We are also west of just a few steps away. I did take a walk from Stanley Goldman Park. I did an episode a while back of Stanley Goldman Park. I remember like recently they dedicated that park to Chris Nixon, who was a Hollywood resident and who was one of the 17 people that died a few years ago in the Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School massacre, where the guy got in and killed 17 people, and he was a resident of Hollywood. And I wanted to see the plaque that they had out there as well. So that's the story. Now this right here is a former Boston market, which in the front of it they're turning it into a bank. From what I've seen, I think it's a third bank they're turning it into. But anyway, back to this here. This is Hollywood Plaza. We are here near South Park Road and Hollywood Boulevard. And this is the former location of Hollywood Mall. It is called Hollywood Hills Plaza, but I just said Hollywood Plaza. And this is the former location of Hollywood Mall. Now, I don't know exactly when Hollywood Mall opened up. I just know that this particular location has a tragic story. If any of you from here or from South Florida, you should know this story. In July of 1981, about 44 years ago, well, July 27th to be exact, 1981, 44 years ago, a little boy named by Adam Walsh, who is the son of TV's John Walsh, you know, the guy that hosted America's Most Wanted and a lot of the other crime mystery shows from the 90s and early 2000s. Adam Walsh was shopping here at the Hollywood Mall with his mom, and they actually entered into the mall. Well, they actually came to the Sears that was located here at the mall, and it was said that the mom was looking for a lamp, a certain lamp. She left the kid she left her son with a group of other kids. There was, and I didn't know that they had this at Sears, because Sears was one of my favorite stores, where they had a Atari section where the kids can play at the Atari video games. I'm guessing it's like one of them, you know, back in the day, you know how a lot of places had a little game room section in the malls and in the stores where the kids can go play the video games, you know, in the electronics department and stuff, while the parents go shopping, or like how you go in the malls and they have game rooms and the kids go in the game rooms while the parents go shopping. So he was there with a bunch of other kids, and there was a dispute. From what was said, I looked the information up online. I don't know how true it is. If anybody have an actual more info to the story, there was a dispute with the young kids over the games, and the security guard asked all of the kids to vacate the Sears. And he did ask some of the kids was their parents inside of the store, and most of the kids said no, so they ended up kicking all of them out. And it did say that Adam Walsh was too scared to speak up, so he was standing outside of the Sears. Now, the mother came looking for her son and couldn't find her son, and was looking for about 90 minutes before they actually got the notion to call the police. They did do a over the PA. You know how you go in the stores and they over the PA they say, you know, attention, Charles, your party is up front looking for you, and things like that. So they did do that, but he was nowhere to be found. Now, after 90 minutes, she decided to call the police, because, you know, at that time he was still young. John I mean, Adam Walsh was born in 1974. I'm sorry, lady. I'm so sorry, but I wasn't in your way. He was born in 1974, and it was said that, so that means he was in his early teens. The boy was abducted by a guy named Otis Toll. Now, going back to Hollywood, this is Hollywood Plaza, this is a Target, this is Rainbow. There are not a lot of shops here, so if you do come out to this, you're not going to get a lot of shops. There's a very few shops here. I'm guessing this Target is where the Sears used to be at. Now, when it came down to it, the boy was missing. It was said 2 weeks later, on August 10th, that his head was found in a canal just about close to 200 miles north of Hollywood in Yawhee Junction, which is in Indian River County. And I had the pleasure of visiting Yawhee Junction. I didn't go and actually visit any of the places, but a friend of mine years ago, we was traveling and we decided to want to get off the exit of Yawhee Junction, which is like in the middle of nowhere, and there was nothing there, but his head was found in a canal by one of the deputies up there. Now, it was said that Otis Toole confessed to the murder of Adam Walsh. Now, it's unclear, and I don't know the full story, if Otis Toole was from here or visiting or whatever, because from what I've read, Otis Toole was convicted of a lot of murders, a lot of crimes in his day, and he died in prison, I believe, in 1997. I didn't do a lot of research on him, but he died in prison. I don't know what was the story about him, but if you have any more information on him, please comment and give me some insights on it. As you can see, there's a Rainbow, there's a yoga place, there's an H&R Block, there's a GameStop, a T-Mobile, a Golden Crust. There's a lot of shopping stores here. Now, I didn't get a lot of information on Hollywood Mall, because if you Google Hollywood Mall, it's going to give you a lot of malls in the area, like the Hollywood Fashion Center that used to be in Hollywood. It's going to give you a lot of info. So it didn't give me the exact information on when that mall opened up. If you remember the Hollywood Mall, or if you've ever been inside the Hollywood Mall, I would love to hear from anybody who remember back then. Remember, I was born in the early 80s, so for me, this story is not really something that is, fresh in my memory, like, oh, I remember this story, because when this story took place, or when he was abducted, I wasn't even 1 year old yet. I was born in 1980, and he was abducted on July 27th, 1981, which is about a week or two from now. So he was abducted, and I wasn't even 1 year old yet. So you can automatically see why this story is not really something that is going to be like, ooh, for me, like I remember this story. Now, I remember a lot of people and a lot of, reports of this story being told, but it was, I believe this is one of the reasons why John Walsh started doing, Unsolved Mysteries, because, of this story about his son being abducted. Now, I can't say if John Walsh is really from Hollywood, Florida, but I'm quite sure he was, if his wife was here shopping. Now, this doesn't look like a big place, but I'm quite sure that it was a decent size for a Hollywood Mall. Now, I don't have any pictures, because I don't know exactly when Hollywood Mall closed, because like a lot of these places, historical places, they don't really have a lot of information on certain things. Remember a while back I said I wanted to do info on Northside Shopping Center, and they kept giving me another Northside Shopping Center from another city. And a lot of these places here, when you Google them or you try to do research on these informations, it gives you very little information. I'm quite sure that the Hollywood Mall closed sometime shortly after that, because I'm sure after that abduction, there was probably a lot of concern, because I'm quite sure a lot of people after that abduction was really concerned about bringing their kids to that Sears or to the Sears here, to where they feel like, I'm not gonna leave my kid here, or if I go to that Sears, I'm gonna make sure my kid is with me at all times, because and looking at the story, I honestly feel like, yeah, there is a lot to play behind that story, because at one, the security guard, you know, even though there was a dispute, you know, there should have been ways of saying, you know, if you see somebody outside by themselves, or if it's a little kid outside by himself, you know, I'm one of them people that I'll stop and say, hey, you know, are you looking for your mom, or where's your mom, or something like that. You know, nowadays days, you see a kid standing outside, 9 times out of 10, you thinking that they're out here selling, because every time I go near a store and I see a kid outside, most of the time they be like, you want to buy some candy, or you want to buy, you know, help support, you know, my program and stuff like that. You know, a lot of kids are like that, or they could just be waiting on their parents that's inside, you know. So, you know, you never think about it. But, you know, and then not only that, you know, back in the 80s, even though kidnapping was not as big as it is now, because kidnapping is more serious now. You see how many times people get kidnapped now, and they be inside somebody's house for like 10, 20 years before they can get out, and then next thing you know, the family reunites the kids and stuff. I've seen TV shows about it, and I've seen, you know, and even though some of the TV shows was just like, you know, they're acting, but, you know, it's a serious thing, and you would have never thought that, you know. And a parent back then, you never thought kidnapping was a good thing, even though kidnapping exists, but it wasn't as how it is now, where people get missing. And now, you know, and you didn't have all this technology back then. It was hard. When you went looking for somebody that was kidnapped back then, you had to literally go looking for them. You didn't have all this DNA stuff and all that. People get missing now, and next thing you know, they 3-4 hours later, they found somewhere, and you know, remember, it took them 2 weeks, and they found the body. They found his head in a canal, and I was like, that was like 150 miles or 200 miles north of where they was. And I'm like, that man must have knew really what he was doing, because when most people, you know, murder a body and try to dispose of a body, they'll do it in a local area where they do it in a lake and stuff. He went up the road and actually disposed of the body. Now, it was said that they didn't recover the rest of the body, and that the head was in a morgue until, I guess, they said that the case closed. And they say the case didn't close until 2008. And I'm like, 2008? The body was missing since 1981. And I know to this day there's probably a lot of cases from the 80s and 90s that are still open, that people are trying to find answers to, that they probably would never get to find answers, but the police department is keeping the cases open because they think that they have hope on these cases. You know, a lot of these serial killers from the 80s and 90s are probably in 3 places. They're probably already in jail for the crimes they committed, or they're hiding out somewhere under a new name where nobody can find them, or they're already dead and deceased, and, you know, you can't remember. But it did say that the police was glad that they found that who the killer was, even though he is now long gone. But they now know who the killer was, because if they didn't know, that man probably would have died, and probably this case would have never got answered to who killed John Walsh's son. Now, like I said, this happened in 1981. I was not even a year old when this happened, and I know a lot of speculation. If you know this story or have more info or more behind this story, feel free to comment at the bottom of this page. I can only give you what I can, you know, like when I do my research on these stories, I can only give you what I find online. And they don't give you all of the information and all of the facts. You know, I know the news stations covered this. I know a lot of newspapers cover this, but actually, no. And, you know, I don't know if on July 27th they're going to be a memorial by him, because I never really seen somebody do an actual memorial tributing to Adam Walsh. Like, he was only probably like what, maybe 10, 11, not even that. He was 1974 to 1980. He was under 10 years old. He wasn't even 10 years old yet. And that, he never lived his life. He wasn't even 10 years old yet, because in 1984 he would have been 10 years old. He wasn't even 10 years old yet. Imagine And then who knows? Back then a lot of people lure their kids. You know how it used to be back then when somebody pull up in a little white truck and they be like, "Hey, you want some candy?" We don't know how this man got to lure this child into this vehicle, because some of these kids, they're not taught to they're always saying that saying, never talk to strangers, but you never know. A lot of these strangers, they have candy and stuff. Kids these days now are more smarter than that. They don't see you as a parent, they're not gonna come to you. But back then, kids, "Hey, come here, you want to play a video game?" And the kids come and things like that and stuff like that. So if you have any more info on this story, I would love to hear from somebody who was there that day when the incident happened. But I'm quite sure there's not too many people who watches my show that probably can say that they was there that day. Or if you know more about this story than I do, please share some insights on this, because I don't even know the whole full story behind this. I just know his son got abducted on that day, and they found his head in Yahoo Junction in a canal, and they never found the rest of his body, which is probably buried somewhere from my understanding. I don't even know where his son is buried at, to my understanding, or where the head is buried at, or anything. Or do they even have a memorial grave site for him or something like that? I'm quite sure they have like a little headstone somewhere where they remember him or something like that. Because I'm quite sure, if you walk, and even though I've been to this, I don't think I've ever been in this Target, but I've been in this area to where I've never seen a memorial stone out here that pays tribute to Adam Walsh. Because when most areas, when there is like a serious situation, like if it was a killing or a mass killing, or if it was something that turned into history, like a war or something like that, like how these state parks and these other parks be having wars, just like I told you earlier in the show, they did early in the show, I did and I believe I told you I walked from the Stanley Goldman Park that is east of here, because they did a memorial for Chris Hickson, who is the guy who was one of the 17 people that got killed at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School, and he was from Hollywood, and they did a plaque for him in that park, and they named the trail after him. So yeah, here they don't have something that emphasizes him. Now we're going to take a walk in the front, because I've been standing in the parking lot for a while, because if you can see, the shopping center is not a pretty big shopping center, but at the same time, this is history in making, because this is one of the most known kidnappings here in America. Like, there are a lot of history and kidnappings and stuff, but this was one of the known kidnappings because it sparked a lot, and the fact that John Walsh, who is the host of America's Most Wanted and a lot of other the crime mystery shows, was actually, I think this is one of the reasons why he started this, because Unsolved Mysteries was basically a TV show basically highlighting a lot of crimes that went unsolved, and people are still trying to find answers to these crimes, right? And here you have world famous, I don't know what this is, and it's temporarily closed. You have Stone Cold Creamery. I've never been there. I always want to try them. One day I'm gonna try them. Paradise Nails and Spa. Here's another place that I want to try. First Watch, which is breakfast, brunch, and lunch. I've never tried them, but I've always wanted to try them, and things like that. And here's a Starbucks here. Now, I don't remember what this plaza used to look like back then. I just know that there was a Boston market here, and whenever I was in Hollywood down this way, I would come out here. This across the street is the Hollywood Police Department, and Taco Bell is on the other side. FedEx, Rainbow, Publix. I know FedEx is over here as well too. They got the Einstein Brothers. We are significantly South Park Road. This is South Park Road. If you take Park Road and go north, which is this way, you'll run into TY Park, which is a park that I did an episode about a while back. You'll run into TY Park. Now we're going to go over here and we're going to show you what is us in the area. Now basically I did this episode because I wanted to give you more insight of the Adam Walsh story. And you can also Google it and get more information if you want. But a lot of these crimes from back in the day, they're going to only give you bits and pieces of the crime. They never said how he lured him and how it did tell you, and I told you how he ended up getting abducted. It's because the security guard inside the Sears kicked the boys out when there was a dispute over the game, and they ended up, kicking them out. And the boys didn't say that, oh, my parents are here, because any place that had a game room, the kids used to always hang out at, whether if you're inside of a department store or it was a game room, solo, like arcade place, or if it was inside a mall, the kids, they go and they hang out inside these game rooms. And that's what the kids was doing. And some of them said that their parents wasn't there. So, like most security guards, hey, y'all got to go. And they said Adam Walsh didn't want to speak up because he was, being, I guess, shy or whatever. And he ended up being outside. Now, how he got abducted while he was outside, it's still a question mark. Now, there's a 24-hour Subway right there. There's a burger joint. There's the Hen, the Hall, and I'm guessing that's a restaurant. I don't know what this burger joint is, but it says Burgers and Shakes. That might be the Hen, the Hog, and that might be what it is. I don't know. And Einstein Brothers, which is probably in the same shopping center, if I'm not, or did I pass it? I don't remember. I don't know. But yeah, this is it. This is Hollywood Boulevard and South Park Road, which is the home of the former Hollywood Mall and the gruesome, tragic story of Adam Walsh, who was the son of John Walsh, TV's Unsolved Mysteries, and the abduction of Adam Walsh here in the Hollywood, Florida area. Now, like I said, if you remember majority of the story, please comment at the bottom of this page. You can also email me at roundtable305@yahoo.com, because I would like to hear more about this story, and maybe on a future level I'll do comments from this story, and I'll do a update on this story. This too much doesn't need an update, but if anybody have any info of this, like if you've ever been to the Hollywood Mall before it closed, let me know what was inside the mall and how was it. If you've ever been to that Sears, let me know. It will be great if you are one of the people that was there the same day he got abducted. It will be great to hear from somebody, but I know that a lot of people that watch my show is, some of y'all probably wasn't even born at the time, or even if you was born, you don't remember this story because you was probably too young to remember. Like I said, it was in 1981. I wasn't even a year old when this happened. So for me, it was like, I would not know nothing about this till I got a little bit older. And then that's what ended up happening. So, yes, I thank y'all for watching this episode. City Hall is just just about a minute away. That tall building that sits way over there is basically City Hall. I think that's City Hall, if I'm not mistaken. If that's not City Hall, I believe that's City Hall. If it's not here, I know it's one of these little loops, but that might be City Hall. But anyway, I thank y'all for watching this episode. Comment at the bottom of this page. Email me, roundtable305@yahoo.com. I would like to know more about this area. If you've ever been to this Hollywood Mall before it became the Hollywood Hills Plaza, if you've ever shopped here then or now, if you remember this story, and if you have any histories of this story or any memorabilia about this story of Adam Walsh, rest in peace, because he wasn't even 10 years old yet. He was only about 7, 8 years old or so when he got abducted, and he never even got to see a day of life. He was only a couple of years old, 7, 8, 6, 7, 8 or whatever. So rest in peace to Adam Walsh and the family. So this is the Roundtable Talk. I am your host, C Money. As always, stay safe, stay blessed, stay hydrated, and of course I will see y'all in the next episode. Take care.